Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast Season 2. My name is Beatriz. I am an entrepreneur and business coach and the founder of Be a Boss Coaching, host of this podcast. And for this episode, I'm really excited to be talking with my friend Stephanie, someone that I've known for a few years now, definitely since my time as a case manager and social worker at Mount Sinai Hospital when I used to live there in New York City. And before I move into the episode, I wanted to remind you to come on over to beabosscoaching.com so you can book a free discovery call and learn more about me, learn more about ways that I can help you in your entrepreneurship journey. It's free. And if you're interested in learning more, you can visit my page. You can also come on over to social media on Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. That's where I mostly hang out. But I really wanted to talk with my friend Stephanie about how to confidently pitch yourself and your business. That was one of my struggles when I first started because as a business coach, never have started a business. I completely refused to call myself that. And it was really difficult to figure out how to talk to people about what I do and how I help other people through my business. So if this helped you, please come back to Instagram. You can screenshot this episode, tag me at Be a Boss Coaching on Instagram or on TikTok, or you can even send me an email. I'm over at Beatriz, Beatriz, at beabosscoaching.com. Everything will be in the show notes. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions, again, let me know. This episode was recorded in December as well. So you'll hear some happy holiday at the end. Other than that, though, I think it's a great episode. And I hope you learn a lot. Bye. Welcome to the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast, a leading podcast where we redefine entrepreneurship through the entrepreneurship journeys of women of color, BIPOC, and queer entrepreneurs. I'm Beatriz Rivera, and as a social worker turned entrepreneur coach and podcast host, I share my own journey and story. I decided to start my own coaching business during the pandemic when I was helping my dad, a veteran business owner, to keep his 23-year-old business open. Since then, I've thrown myself into courses, coaching, podcasts, and books. However, I've learned that entrepreneurship is a journey and we can all learn from each other's stories, mistakes, successes, and redefining the boundaries of what entrepreneurship can be. Subscribe to get new episodes every Monday and Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hi, Steph.
Hello.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Be a Boss Coaching podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. This is going to be, as I mentioned to you, one of our Friday episodes. And my idea, like I mentioned to you, I wanted to have friends join the podcast on the Friday episodes. Maybe now I'm thinking about it, maybe not all of them. I think some might be solo episodes with myself. But either way, I'm excited to have friends on, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, me too. So before we move forward, I do want you to introduce yourself.
My name is Stephanie. I am a teacher in New York City. I have been teaching for about 5 years. Before that, I was a care coordinator at Mount Sinai Hospital. This is where Beatrice and I met.
Yes, we did.
And we became friends since then. It was, I think it was mostly it was 3 of us, right? Because we have to count Christina in as well, our other friend. So after a long time working as a care coordinator at Mount Sinai, I decided to transition into education, which was something that I was very passionate in. And that's what I have been doing for the last 5 years. It's been crazy. Time goes by so quickly. And now it's It's going to it's 2024, 2040.
Well, yeah, 2024 in a couple days,
In a
or
couple of days,
yeah,
yes.
3 days ish to be exact.
Time goes by quickly. You have to value the little time we have.
True.
It's
Yes, that's so true. I honestly, when you said 5 years since you've been teaching, I was, oh my God, that's wild because
yes.
I remember when you were still at Mount Sinai, I was still at Mount
Yeah,
Sinai,
yeah,
and I remember when you were just starting to talk to me about what you wanted to do and getting into your master's program for your education career. And now it's 5 years that you've been teaching at the high school level. So
crazy,
it
crazy.
is how time flies by.
Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot in those 5 years. It's been, especially with COVID, and because I also became a teacher right around that time, when COVID happened. So it was a warped time, that seems to have placed everybody at a different trajectory than what they were going, than the trajectory that they were going in before. So it seems like we're now sort of easing ourselves out of it, even though it seems like it happened such a long time ago, but it's we're still sort of like processing. But yeah,
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 I agree with that.
yeah,
I agree that COVID was one of those markers in many people's lives where the trajectory changed. This big
yes,
global event happened, and then everybody's path just veered off in a different direction
yeah,
from where they were going. So I'm one of them for sure. you
yeah.
know,
Yeah,
I
good thing. A lot of people have more time to reflect and think about, like, what do I really want out of life? Like, uh what drives me, or where am I going to go? For me, which is something we're gonna talk about today, I know
yeah,
I started baking
I know. Yeah.
during that time, and it was, for me at the time, it was a way to, and that time, I mean, I don't know if they censor, does Spotify censor you for saying COVID to, I don't hope that they're not saying we're misinforming people, but we're not spreading information. We're just talking about that period of time. Um, I started baking as a way to meditate and as a way to relax, because I suffer from anxiety, which is something I'm very open about, and I have been trying to learn ways to cope better with my anxiety, especially during COVID. And I never thought I was going to become a baker. I never thought I was going to be in the kitchen making cakes and doing all of these things. And all of a sudden, I'm making and all of these creations and following YouTube videos. And my friends are eating all of this food. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just discover this new this new hobby slash possible career of my life? So I started posting pictures online, and as I didn't, you follow me on Instagram, you see all of those things that I create, and mostly is for fun. But I wonder, B, you who are the expert, how would I even start if I wanted to go beyond just being home baker to having a professional account, or or promoting a business like that, if I were to do that? Not saying that I'm doing it right now, but hypothetically.
I know. I mean, I do remember seeing your creations online, and I was so excited when you started to do that because you were so passionate about it and you really enjoyed it, and it's something that I could tell that you were really into. And that's one thing that I remember when I started my business, or when I was starting to think about my business. The seed around what the starting a business was planted for me I want to say September-ish, maybe late the last quarter of 2020. And I one of the things that I would say, if you're starting a business and that seed is getting planted in your head around wanting to start a business around your passion, is learning how to start to talk about it. And
Yeah.
at the time, I remember, I don't know if I shared with you, Steph, but I I was thinking about what kind of business I wanted to start. And I was doing all this research and I really wanted to figure out what would be my first step. Really, what would be my first step? And there's a lot, like when you think about like what is your first step, it's such a big question because you could really start anywhere, and that's fine. Like wherever you start, there's no right or wrong answer where you start in terms of business, is what I've come to realize. But um, thank you for bringing that up because, and I know you're not thinking about making this an actual business in the future, which, however, if you do, I'm here.
Never say never, right? I learned that. Never say no, never say never. You never know what could happen. Who knows?
Exactly, exactly. But I think the first, I want to say that the fact that you started an Instagram account around your business, around just the fact that you're creating something, like that could literally be a first step. Like I would say, start an Instagram account.
Yeah.
It's free, right?
That is true. That is true. And the only reason why I started, this is a funny story, so I'll count it very recount it very fast. Um, my roommate at the time, she was studying to become a strategist, so she was like learning how to um create campaigns for different uh businesses and so on, and she needed like a demo. She was like doing kind of like a fake sort of campaign, but based on a real product. And she had everything prepared, and then all of a sudden, the person who was supposed to do the show or the baking defaulted. So she said she couldn't be there. And all of a sudden, because I was obsessively baking during the pandemic, I had all of the materials, I had all of the products, and I went and I helped her with her presentation as the professional baker. But this is of course stage. It's like a thing that we were doing. But I was taking it very seriously. If you ask her, I was probably not the nicest person that day because I was like, I am actually teaching people how to do this because I learned this way and this way. But it was fun, and I remember thinking about even why I started baking, and it does give me a sense of calm sometimes that I don't usually get with all the things. I think because I'm moving my hands and I have to be very mindful about what I put in, and it requires the use of my hands, but also my brain in a way that other types of meditation does not do. But I was taking pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures obsessively. And one of the little girls, there was a little girl, she was like 11 years old at the campaign, came to me and she was like, "Do you have an Instagram? I want to follow you on Instagram. I want to see your creations." And I was like, "I don't have an Instagram." But she was like, "Why?" I'm like, "I'm not a real baker." And then she was like, "You're a baker." And then she was like 11 or 12. I don't remember her age. And I had to create one just because she asked me. Her mother, she's this sweet girl. Her mother's name is Annie, I believe. I need to give her a shout out because that girl is so sweet. But that's the reason why I created the Instagram account. It was because she wanted to follow me and she wanted to see my creations. She was so impressed, I guess, with how I was teaching her how to do all of these things. And yeah, that's the story.
Wow. No, I'm glad you said that. You never told me that before. And I thought that you created your Instagram account because you literally were like, "Oh, I'm baking and I want to
No,
put it
no,
online." And
no.
I guess it makes sense, especially since if you didn't have that intention of making it bigger and trying to sell things, I guess it makes sense. But I'm glad that
It was
the little
popular.
girl
It was
was
popular demand.
popular demand, and that is what business is: supply and demand. You're
Yes,
supplying,
yes,
right?
exactly,
You're
exactly.
supplying a service, you're teaching people, and someone asked you for there's demand there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so you saw the demand and you met the demand. So I
exactly.
want to say that you already have an entrepreneurial spirit, even if you don't know or realize it, but you do, because
I hope so.
you saw the demand and you gave the people what they want. So
Exactly. Pictures here.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and that is, I would say, even if you, like I said, you didn't have that intention to make this bigger or to create this into a business, but that is one of the first steps, I would say. Is It's one of the easiest steps. It's free. There's not a lot of commitment to it, and just having it there, I think, helps because it allows you to start planting the seed around how are you going to talk about your business and how do you want people to
Mhm.
know about you, right? And I guess we'll go into the topic. We kind of like
Yeah,
um
how do you start talking about this?
yeah, like we can, and that's a topic I know both you and I talked about, like, oh, let's talk about how do you start talking about your business, and I guess that
Mhm.
how do you start doing it with confidence. And I do want to share, so really quickly,
Mhm.
I did have. I wish I had the book on me. It was an online book that I read through the LA Public Library. Shout out to the LA Public Library because they have so many amazing, great resources. That's where I started to learn how to podcast, and
Wow, incredible. Yeah.
yeah, and I moved from their studio to creating my own little setup, my most minimal setup here in my room, as you can see. But I checked out this book. It was called Think Faster, Talk Smarter by Matt Abrahams. And the book is mostly providing tips on how to talk effectively and how to talk with confidence in within the context of spontaneous speaking. So mostly like Q&A, or if you're in a presentation and you have to present on the fly, you can use these strategies and tips to essentially talk your way into talking about your product or whatever you're talking about. And as I was reading it, it really made me think about back then when I started to talk about my business, it was one of the hardest things I had to get over. It was just just saying that I was a business coach was so hard. I didn't want to say that because
Were you having, like, imposter syndrome? Is
oh
that why?
yeah, it was like, I think it was that, and also like I mean, I think it went deeper than that because I also in my head at the time I had fact, I did not have any experience with opening a business, right? So how could
Mhm.
I call myself a business coach and never have opened a business? So I refused to do that. I refused. But I remember when I was going back to 2020 and going back to that time, thinking about that. I don't know if I told you that I started researching what kind of how to create a business, and I threw myself into books
I
and
remember.
podcasts.
I
Yeah.
remember. Yes, yes, yes. You had given me a little bit of information, but I think during COVID, you were here in New York, no?
Yes. Yeah, I was in
Yeah,
New York.
you were here. I remember. What a weird time. Yes. So this is sort of like the genesis of of what is be coaching today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I just refuse to call myself that. And I could not bring myself to say, I'm a business coach, come and work with me. And at that time, I actually was helping my dad with his business because his
Mm,
business, he has a brick and mortar. He owns a shoe repair shop in California, and I was in New York. And of course, with COVID, it was very difficult. No one
yeah, like
was, as a shoe
I
repair
imagine.
service, yeah, no one was going out anywhere. No one needed their shoes repaired. And it was very difficult. And that really, I'm very close to my dad. So that was a really tough period for me, knowing that my dad was struggling like that. And so I was helping him financially just to keep the doors open. But I was like, okay, well, I want to help other people. I want to help people who are struggling as well, keeping their doors open, and who maybe also want to start businesses, and
Right.
who are prepared and skilled to handle tough situations like COVID or I mean, nobody could have predicted COVID,
Yeah.
but I think in business it's so unpredictable either way. So like I want to help other business owners feel prepared or feel confident in their skills to stay afloat, at least when those times come.
Hmm.
And I so and that was just back then. But recently I have been thinking a lot about, oh, I would like to learn how to communicate better. I would like to learn how to express myself better. I think that podcasting is helping with that, but I've also been reading and listening to books. I'm an avid learner, so I'm always reading new books and listening to new podcasts. And one of the books that I came across is, like I said, Think Faster, Talk Smarter. And there's three. The way that the author describes them is there's three structures that he talks about. There's more, but these are the top three that I believe are not just they're not useful just in the terms of speaking more eloquently, but actually speaking about your business. So okay, so I guess I'll go
Okay.
right into it.
Yeah.
So Steph, if you wanted to talk more about your baking, one of the structures that you could use, and this is one of the structures that he talks about, is essentially what a structure is. It's like it's a plugin format where you just it's basically a formula that you can use for speaking, or and I think about it as also using it for talking about your business, where all you do is plug in your business information.
Okay.
So the formula would be what if, so that, for example, and that's not all.
So
So
four things sounds very simple.
yeah, it's just four. It's so it'd be what if, so that, for example,
For
and that
example,
and that's not all. So
what's
like
that?
that is the formula or the structure in your head that you can keep at all times in your back pocket whenever someone asks you about your business. So I made a quick example here. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about my business as a coach.
Okay.
Right. So if I were to use this structure, the way it would look like in my business or for my business is, what if you could start and grow your business while also growing your entrepreneurship skills so that you could continue taking action in your business even when you get hit with the overwhelm of personal priorities and pressures of life. So, for example, you might have a great idea for a new service, but the pressure to keep a consistent paycheck from your 9 to 5 drains your energy that you have left to work on your new service. As your business and entrepreneur coach, I'll help you build the skills you need to move your business forward and still have space to enjoy life. So I use basically the what if in the beginning so that, and for example, and that's not all. So that's not all is essentially adding more. Like
Right.
this is not everything you get, right?
It's like the icing.
Yeah, yeah. So if we were to the
Making
icing,
puns. Making puns.
exactly.
Exactly.
So if we were to think about your business, right? And you wanted to start talking about it, and you're sort of still, and I think that it's just good to have in your back pocket, even when you're trying to think about what does your business do and how does it
Oh,
serve people, and what kind of problem is it solving. I feel like you could use this structure to kind of figure that out and
yes.
figure out for yourself, even if you're still brainstorming through that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to know exactly everything that your business does and all the concepts of your business from to start using this. I think it's a great tool to use it when you're figuring it out, but then also if you're out and about at a networking event, for example, and someone asks you, "Oh, so what do you do?" Obviously, networking events, they always
They
ask
will
you,
always ask. Yes. What do you
uh,
do?
you can just
Yes.
and I get so nervous when I go to networking events. I don't like to chit chat and do small talk. It makes me really nervous.
And
And
we talked
I
about this. You remember? It's like it's the pressure of like you want to be genuine and you want to get to know people because you really want to make real connections with people, but it also feels kind of weird to talk about the business. So I can see how, especially at the beginning, be when entrepreneurs are trying to figure out what their business is or trying to just sell the business and to tell people about their business, how nerve-wracking that could be going into the spaces and not feeling when you're not feeling very confident about who you are as an entrepreneur yet, or if you are still sort of defining the services that you're trying to create. I think i think that it's even more um beneficial for someone who is starting to follow a structure, because that way it kind of removes a lot of that anxious anticipation
Mhm.
that comes when you are at events like that, where people will ask you, because they will ask you, what
Yeah.
do you do? So what
Yeah.
kind of business do you have, and
Yes.
what do you sell? And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know, I because we're not really good at talking about ourselves,
Yeah.
especially when we have to tell people, "Oh, I have a business." You know what I mean? It's kind of it
Exactly. Yeah.
sounds a bit like, "Oh, I'm just here to sell you something." And that's not necessarily the case. Like, yes, we want to make a profit, but also we want to just create this genuine connection to people so that they so that we can actually get to have community as we are building our projects, no?
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you're out and about at events, at a networking event, a lot of times we don't even go to the event because feel unsure. We're still uncertain. We don't really know how to describe ourselves or how to describe our services. And so it feels as if we're not ready, or that those events are just not for me right now because I'm still figuring it out. But
Yeah. Right.
really, you should be going to events, or even, and not just networking events, but let's say you go to a holiday party, your partner's holiday party, and you're meeting new people. The number one question I feel always comes up when you meet new people: so what do you do?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And you just never know who you're gonna meet, and you never know if they're gonna need you or your services. That might be a potential new client, and they might even be generous enough to want to work with you, even if they know that you're just starting off, but want to help you and want to give you
Sure.
that experience. So if you were to have that, if you're still figuring out, I would say that having the structure is really beneficial, just because you can plug and play. What if, so that, for example, And that's not all. And I feel like and that's not all feels a little salesy. Maybe you can change it to something that feels a little bit more authentic to you. Maybe something like on top of that, you also whatever, something that feels more like you because I feel like and that's not all sounds
Right.
like an ad, like a commercial. Um but that is one structure. So, if we were to plug and play with your baking business, for example.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm thinking about this. Like now you have me, my imagination is going wild. So start as let's go over I know we mentioned before, but let's go over them again.
Mhm.
What if, what the second one is
So that,
so that, third one,
for example.
for example, and additionally, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking if I were to create this fantastic, beautiful bakery in my mind. So what if I had created a bakery where all of the cupcakes, it was mainly cupcakes, were flowers, beautiful recreations of flowers that were three-dimensional flowers. And so instead of, for example, on Valentine's Day, getting a bouquet of regular flowers, you could get a bouquet of cupcake flowers.
Mm.
And this could be a thing where you would go to this bakery so that you could have beautiful designs of cupcakes for Mother's Day, for Valentine's Day, for birthday, and in addition to that, it could be one of those like nice, cute bakeries where you can actually go and have an experience, have a little tea, read a book, or have a little nook, write something that is geared towards the community, and perhaps also take some classes here and there, the creation classes, and just so a place that you can go and relax.
Mm.
I think that that would be kind of my vibe if I were to have this fabulous imaginary imag-
Imaginary bakery.
did I use it right? I feel like I used all of them, right?
I think you missed I think you said so that, but I don't know if it translated well
Okay.
because I
So
think you said instead of so that you said instead, the word instead.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I replaced that with so that people could go buy their presents instead of getting regular flowers, you could get a bouquet of cupcake flowers. And if no one knows what I'm talking about, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I live in New York, by the way. So right now there is an ambulance. This is like the soundtrack of New York. So exciting. I hope the person who's there is well, the person who's going on the ambulance. Hope everything goes well. But you can hear the noise, so I apologize. Um, now I was forgetting what I was going to say. The cupcakes.
Yeah, I think okay, so here's some feedback.
Okay,
So you are plugging and playing right now, right?
right.
So you're sort of the you're imagining what a bakery could possibly do
Right.
for the consumer, right? So if it doesn't, I think you can use it once it starts to feel good. Once it starts to feel, oh, okay, this sounds good. So maybe the one thing that I was hearing as you were talking about the bakery and the 3D flower cupcakes is there was a distinction between the cupcakes and the bakery itself. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think you want to think about if you're opening up a bakery. Let's say you are like you have like let's say you have an actual
Location,
brick
right.
and mortar, right? But there
I'm
are
coming to LA.
yeah, just because like if
Brick maker.
some bakers don't have that, they just bake and they
Mm.
sell online, right? So I think it is important to you can start thinking about what stage you're in. So if you're just selling online and you're just selling, what you're selling is your creations are a bouquet of cupcake flowers, like that's what you can do. I think the
Mhm.
focus needs to be on that rather than the brick and mortar because that feels different.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, but
And
you
that is
can,
something that I could add eventually if I were to open a location, for example, if I wanted
yeah,
to. Okay.
yeah. But
Alright.
if you, I mean, if you did have the location, like imagine
That's
like,
flexible. It's flexible.
yeah, like what if, like you could say, what if there was a bakery that offered 3D flower cupcakes for as Valentine's Day gifts, anniversary gifts,
I'm sorry.
and
I'm trying to pull up. I don't know if people know what I mean by cupcake flowers. Have you seen them, B?
no, but I can
I'm sorry
imagine
to
them.
interrupt.
I mean, I can
Continue.
imagine they're edible cupcake flowers.
Continue.
And
Sorry, interrupted.
no, no, no. I mean, that's okay. But imagine like if you did have the brick and mortar already, you could just focus the structure on the cupcake first. So you could say, what if you could give 3D cupcake flowers for Valentine's Days or an anniversary or for a birthday
Mhm.
so that it's not a regular bouquet, not a regular thing that dies,
Right.
and
Something delicious.
something delicious and something that is probably more meaningful. Because if you think about it, for myself, the way to my heart is food. But anyway, for example, you could give a bouquet of cupcake flowers for someone's birthday with their favorite icing and their favorite flavors. And on top of that, they can get 50% off on their next purchase for this bakery.
Right.
So
Yep.
like it it just gives you it gives you a structure to play with, and then
I
to really
swear.
think, yeah, to really think about the client, or think about what you're selling from the client's perspective.
Right.
Okay, but really quick, I have two more structures. And
Okay.
these other two are really, really simple though. The
Okay.
the second one is problem solution benefit. So like if you were to just have the problem about what you're solving with your product or service, and then what the solution is, which is how it does it, and then the benefit, like how does it actually benefit your client and customer, I feel like that could also be a structure that you carry in your back pocket when you start talking about your business and your services, because it it's not four different elements that you're remembering, but three. So it's problem, solution, benefit. So what is the
Problems.
problem? Yeah, like if the problem that you're solving with your bakery is um maybe someone doesn't want to give flowers for Valentine's Day
Right.
because
Some people do. Some people don't like having flowers at home because they die. They don't like to see them. Yeah.
yeah, or maybe you want to give something that is actually more aligned to that person's taste or
Mhm.
preferences. Maybe they enjoy food rather than material things. Like at least that's me. Like for Valentine's Day, my partner,
We are such foodies.
yeah, he gives me chocolates, or not just any chocolates. These are top tier chocolates that sometimes I will take me a whole month to finish because they're so good. And so but anyway,
Chocolate is the best. So you don't get me started about chocolate. Continue. I'm listening.
yeah, but then this is a solution. This is how you can help people. And then this
Yeah.
is the benefit. Like someone actually enjoys that you gave them a bouquet of edible cupcake flowers rather than having a flower that later on they're gonna have to throw
Right.
away.
Well, let me show you because I don't know if people know. People, this is
Huh?
what it would look like. And this is an actual thing that people do. And I have done some. If you go on my Instagram, I have done sort of like probably lower levels. I've done like bouquets of roses, and I think it would be nice. I
They're
think it would be
beautiful. That
nice.
looks like a real
There's two-
bouquet of flowers.
Right?
Imagine tricking someone and being like, "Oh my god,
Yes.
these are
Yes.
beautiful." And then it's like, "That's not
Yes.
all. You can eat them." You know?
Exactly. Exactly. It's a lot of sugar, but yes, yes.
That oh my gosh, now I have it. We have it. Imagine
What?
if let's say this was your product, Steph.
Huh?
What if you could give someone your what if you could give your loved one a bouquet of flowers so that you don't look like you forgot about the anniversary? For example, you're in a rush because you actually did forget about your anniversary, but now you can go to your local bakery and get a bouquet of cupcake flowers
Okay. Yes.
and give them to your loved one. And that's not all. They can get to eat them and you don't look like the asshole at the end of the day. I don't know.
And feed your loved ones. It always works.
I think that's your target audience. It's like people who forget about their anniversary. Yeah. I think that's your target audience.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Um okay. And then the last one, the last structure that I'll talk about is this is the acronym. It's ADD, basically add.
What?
And
ADD.
yes.
ADD. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the first one stands for answer the question. So if they ask you about something about your business, let's say, what do you do? Answer the question. And like, but I don't mean just answer literally just there's more to that, right? Like go straight to the point. So actually say what your business does. And then detail an example. So that's the second D. Detail an example. So give an example and give details about what your business does. And then describe the value. That's the second D. ADD.
Okay.
Describe the value to the person.
Answer, detail, describe the value. Okay.
Exactly. So I feel like if you have that one too, if that one's easier to remember, add because it's an
Yeah.
acronym. Answer the question, detail an example, and then describe the value to the person. That could be your structure for talking about your business when
So
someone asks you off the cuff.
right. So if I were to be nervous or anxious, I could just say, well, I am a baker. I have a bakery and I create cupcakes that look like flowers and they come in this beautiful bouquet so you can buy and gift to your loved one for Mother's Day, for Valentine's Day, and you can eat them too.
Perfect. You describe the value at the end. You answer the question, you detailed an example, and you describe the value to the person. They can eat them as well. That is perfect. I'm so happy.
I'm learning.
I think that one's your favorite. That might be the easiest structure to remember and to use when you're talking about your business.
Okay.
But yeah, so I hope that all of these specific structures help. If you want to learn more and how to apply them, I honestly suggest to go and check out this book. It's called Think Faster, Talk Smarter by Matt Abrahams because these are not the only structures he talks about. There's other structures that he talks about, but I believe that these three are the most relevant to talking about when you're talking about your business and starting to feel confident. And I feel like they're good structures to practice and not just practice pitching yourself and talking about your business, but also good structures that can help you hone in on what your business actually does and what the solution is and what the value is for your customers. So I feel like they really helped me in
Sounds very
talking about
helpful.
my
Like,
business. And you literally just
yes,
did it right now,
I
Steph.
want to go create this, like, open this bakery.
Well,
There's a lot.
hey.
Here.
Yeah,
I need investors.
you'll need investors. Yes, and when you're ready, and when I'm a millionaire, I'm ready to invest in your company.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Steph.
Thank you for inviting me. It has been fun.
It was really fun. I always
I
enjoy
a
talking with you. I'm glad. This is why I really love this too, this idea that I had about having friends over to the podcast, because I get to create the podcast, talk about something, and also catch up with my friends and see them.
Aw. Your habit stacking. Is that what it's called? Or like,
Yeah, habit
why not?
stacking. You're right. It is a way.
No.
It's a strategy to get you to do something and make it fun while making it
Yes.
fun. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for that.
I know.
Amazing.
I'm really glad that you did this with me, and
Thank you. Thank you for
hopefully,
inviting me.
I know. I know. I feel like in general, teaching something is a little bit harder when you're doing it on your own and trying to teach something, because if you're not getting feedback from another person, you're sort of just kind of talking to the air. But I'm glad that
Mhm.
you came on here and did this with me. I
Thank
appreciate you.
thank you. Anytime. I'm here anytime. I had fun. I learned a lot. I don't think I will forget about these things.
I hope that you use the last one. You did it
Yeah.
well. That was
Yeah.
perfect.
That one, it's so simple, straight to the point. I think for someone who's like beginner, has nothing, like never learned anything about entrepreneurship, I think that would be probably the go-to.
Yeah.
The go-to if I'm feeling the pressure and if I'm feeling anxious. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's not just for business, right? Like you can take it anywhere.
It's mm,
If you're talking about your role, or maybe you can use it on a presentation,
mm,
if you're like doing a presentation. I think it can help as well. So, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you, Steph. I appreciate
Well,
you.
I hope we get to talk soon.
And I
Yes.
appreciate you. Thank you so much for
I
joining me.
appreciate you too. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Take care. Say hello to Sean.
I'll say hello to him. Thank you for listening to the Be a Boss Coaching podcast. Remember to come on over to the beabosscoaching.com and book your free discovery call, where you can learn more about coaching with me, what it takes to start a business and grow the skills while growing your business at the same time. I'm excited to learn more from you. Remember to sign up to our newsletter and come back every Monday and Friday for new episodes.